Need rigs? Ace 5 Studios has rigs.
Hey, it's Aleksey from Ace 5 Studios, and today we're going to continue our course of learning Mograph by making this flower. It's a dynamic flower. It's attached to a spline where we can move the spline and the flowers and the leaves follow. We can affect our location of how far our leaves grow. And the same thing we can do with our flowers. We can affect how far the flowers grow up and down. And we have a bunch of little creative things that we do with it. Awesome, so let's get started. Now the first thing we're going to need is we're going to need some petals. So let's make a cube, squash it down, let's make it editable, and let's get our points. Let's stretch it out first. Let's stretch it out, add a loop cut, in polygon mode, and wherever loop cut is, I don't know, I have it on a short, there it is, loop cut, and here. And then let's select the points over here, these ones, scale, and scale just with the red one. Don't scale with all of them, because otherwise you'll get this, which isn't what we want. We just want it to be small like this. And then we can also select the face here. By the way, I switch between points, edges, and faces with I have shortcuts, 1, 2, 3 on my keyboard. You can set them manually and watch my other tutorials on it. So this is what our petal is going to look like. Let's go to petal. Let's put this into a subdivision surface. That's pretty close, I guess. Let's stretch it out a bit. Oops, just on the red one. Okay, that looks like a petal to me. Now, let's make a cloner. And let's put this in the cloner. And this time, let's select radial. Now, if you didn't watch my tutorial, go check it out. Right click here, go user interface, and switch it to quick tap radius so you can easily switch between them. And then let's increase the radius. Something like this. Awesome. Now, the thing is, right now, our petals are, if we turn it off, our axis is in the middle. And that's not really what we want. What we want is we want to go to the axis tool, and we want to move our axis so it's at the tip of it. And then when we turn this on, you'll see that if we turn the radius of the cloner down to 0, they'll meet right in the middle. And this way also, when we rotate them, they'll rotate from the right direction. So that's good. Now let's make a little sphere. That'll be the middle of our flower. Let's give it a bit less sections, like 16 maybe. Where's our display? Yep. Make this editable. Let's select our bottom points and scale them. Don't forget to turn off the axis tool, otherwise your things won't work. Scale them down, move them up, go into object mode, also scale it down, and let's drag it down here. So now we have this kind of flower thing. Now maybe we want some more of these. Maybe 6, maybe 7. We'll see as we go. Now let's get our material and let's make it, double click here, and let's get a yellow material, max it out, and this will be our center. And let's just control drag it and make this guy just white, and this will be in our petals. Guy seems as bright as it gets. So the next thing we want to do is we want to add a little, for this cloner, let's add a random effector. So go here, let's go random effector. That's not what we want. Let's go to parameter and let's untick it. And the parameter here, let's just go scale, and we don't have to have uniform scale. Let's just stretch them out a bit so that, nope, that's the wrong one. Also the wrong one. There you go. So they're just a tiny bit, so they're not all the same. And we can also add some rotation. So they're all just a little bit different. There you go. And instant kind of random flower feel. Now, I want to also be able to curl these flower petals up. So get our petal, and holding the shift key, let's add a bend deformer there. Now, by default, my bend deformer comes in at 68 degrees, because when you create it, when you set something up in anything in Cinema 4D, basically you can set it up and then go user data, edit, and you can go set as default preset. I like my bend deformers to be bent by default, so I can tell straight away if I'm doing stuff right. So here I can tell it's wrong. So for you, just switch this, it'll be at 0 probably. So just switch it to some kind of digit and then go +X and go fit parent. Still wrong, +Z, fit parent. There we go. As you can see, they're bending sideways, but they're bending in the right general direction. So all we have to do is we have to rotate this by -90. There we go. And we have our little flower. And also tick keep length, that also helps. Now you'll notice that since we're applying it to the petal, not the subdivision surface, it's actually just bending this very limited geometry. And that's why it's disappearing straight up right now. So maybe what would be a better idea is if we select our subdivision surface, press Alt-G, and then put the deformer just as a sibling, as a brother of these other objects. And then it'll bend everything that's inside this null. And now, as you can see, it's actually bending, let's turn off the cloner. Now it's actually bending this thing, whereas when it was underneath, it was just bending the unsubdivided object, like the polygon mesh. So, okay, here, and that's great. And turn this back on. And also maybe Alt and click on these traffic lights 2 times to hide it so it's not getting in the way. So, we have a flower. Pretty solid. And we can obviously animate this bend now to have it close and open. So that's handy for animation and such. We're going to go over that later. And let's just copy the center, just control and drag it. Let's rotate it. And then come down, yeah, there you go. And we want to make a new material, which is green. And apply it to this bottom. So it'll be the bottom of our flower. There you go, pretty solid. Now, for a bit of dynamics in making this flower, just to demonstrate why Mograph is so useful, let's select our cloner. It's called cloner flower petals. Let's add a plane effector, and let's turn off our position. Let's go to scale, and see, we can easily adjust the scale of these flowers. For example, we can adjust it, and we go to cloner, and we can increase the count. And we suddenly have a completely different flower, which can also close and open. And this is really like this is part of the power of Mograph in the cloner object. And we can get this cloner and we can just control drag and copy it. And then we can reduce the bend and rotate it. And we have this kind of double flower effect. And also this plane effector right now, it'll affect all the petals. But we can have them separate for each cloner if we want. There's a whole bunch of stuff we can do. But let's delete this. We don't need this. Just demonstrating what we have. Let's delete this as well. And let's go back to our 7. Yep. Because we're going to go through the basics and then we're going to do more complex stuff later. So the next thing we want to do is we want to create the stem, right? We want to copy it so it's like a flower and a stem. So let's get our spline tool, spline pen. Let's go to our side view and let's use the cubic to draw the stem. I think that should be enough. A bit too big. Scale them down a bit. Oops. Seems about right. Now let's put all of this flower into a null. Let's Alt-G the cloner. So that way the cloner is where our original axis, and then get our bottom, center, and random and put them in there. And let's call this flower object. And we wanted this to be attached to the end of it. So what we do, since this is a Mograph tutorial, let's use the cloner. We could use animation aligned to spline, but that's not what this tutorial is about. Let's go and put it into cloner object. And let's switch to, instead of grid, let's go object. And let's put our spline into here. So as you can see, we can actually clone things on a spline. Now, right now, the flower isn't pointing in the right direction. So we can adjust this in 2 ways. We can either go to transform and we can rotate it here. We can pick which one to get it pointing in the right direction. But honestly, I wouldn't really use this. These often bug out, so I would just leave it here. If possible, I would get this flower object, the null that we have, and I would go to axis, and I would just rotate the axis. So if we turn it off, you'll see that, let's just rotate the axis like 90 degrees and see if that works. Okay, that was the wrong direction. So let's rotate it. There you go, 180 degrees. And now it's pointing in the right direction. But we obviously have too many of them. So let's select our object and here, and let's just put count to 1. and offset it 99%. Oops, 99%. There you go. And as you can see, we have it at the top. And if we move the spline, if we change the point, oops, don't forget to turn off the axis tool, you can see it'll move and orient together with the spline. So that's how we deal with the cloner with just one object. And we don't need to use an effector. What I would do, the thing is, like, let's put this into a sweep, and let's give it a n-gon and side. As you can see, right now it's not a evenly spaced thing, and it's not evenly the topology because of the spline, because it's adaptive. If we set it to uniform, then we'll have a uniform version. And now we can scale this n-sided down, and we can put this whole sweep in a subdivision surface, and we should have what we need. We have a stem. Now, let's do this little thing where I want it not to be these kind of flowers. I want it to be like little bells that are like hanging off it, right? So let's select our cloner. Let's turn it off for a second. And let's just extrude. Let's select our bottom. And let's select all of these bottom pieces and just control drag them down. Oops, control drag them down. And then maybe move it down here and rotate it. Scale them down a bit, and then use the loop cut tool again. So it's KL shortcut, and select it and move it out here. And let's put this into a subdivision surface. Okay, maybe select these guys again. And by the way, I used my mouse button for the one on the side to just quickly do a rectangular selection. Very convenient. Let's move and control drag to just make this. If you want to get rid of these, just control and drag while it's in the scale tool, and you'll just make it smaller like this, and then you won't get any of those ugly lines there. And here we might want to get our petals and lower them slightly, so we don't get that yellow showing through. There we go, perfect. Now, what we want is this green flower to be arranged along this stem. So if we turn this cloner on, you can see it's still being arranged on that pivot there. So let's add a bit more clones so we can see what's going on. Let's go, and yeah, maybe add a bunch of them. We can also maybe scale down the whole flower object. Now, so firstly, what we want is we want it to be pivoting. We want it to be attached with the end of this. We don't want it to be a center. And for that, again, we have to change the origin of the object. So let's turn off our cloner, go to our flower object, and with the axis tool, we want to move our axis to where we want it. So it's around here. Now let's turn our cloner back on, see what we get. Okay, see, we're getting pretty good. It's attached to that end. Now, maybe we don't want it to be all the way along the length of the stem, right? So let's get our cloner and let's change this start. Let's push them all up so they're somewhere around here. And we want to rotate them so they're facing down, right? Now, again, we could just rotate the axis. That's an option. It's probably the easiest option. So just go select the axis and there you go, 180. And hold the shift key so it snaps. But we want to also maybe aim them up a bit. So let's do that with a plane effector. Let's get a plane effector and parameter. Let's turn off position and let's just go rotation and let's find out. There you go. That's about right, I think. But then we want to also rotate them around the stem so they're not all on one side, right? So for that, we're going to use our step effector. We're going to get our step effector and we're not going to scale them. We're going to rotate them and not like that. There you go. We're going to rotate them around the side. But what you might notice is as well, they're not really doing. Let's turn off our plane effector first so that we get this right. Because order of operations here matters. See, right now we're just rotating them not the direction we want. So let's put this to 0. Let's first rotate them. There we go. This is what we want them to be rotated like. And then we turn our plane effector back on. It's not what we want because, again, order matters. So in our effector, let's change our plane effector down underneath the step. There we go. And now, as you can see, they are indeed the way we want. Also, let's get our little green material here. Let's control drag this onto our sweep nodes. See, now we have them arranged in the exact way we want, and we can use the plane effector to adjust their tilt, and the step effector rotates them around the stem in a very easy manner. And we can also quickly go into the cloner, and we can change how far I want them to grow, lower, further. We can have them bunched up at the top or at the bottom. And that's really the key here. Now, the next thing is let's add some leaves. And I'm going to add them in a slightly different way. Let's get our petal, just because it's basically the same thing. Let's just control drag it out here. And let's call this leaf. And let's apply the green material. I'm just control dragging this tag onto it. Delete the white one. Now, let's move this guy out. Oops, axis tool. Now, make sure the axis is in the right place. That's why we want it straight away. And let's play this into a subdivision surface. Now, let's add a little cut down the middle. And let's bring this edge out. Oops, axis tool. And maybe move this guy down a bit so it's like so. And then maybe move this whole edge loop. There you go, that looks like a leaf to me. Maybe move these guys up a bit. Perfect. We have a leaf. And we have a subdivision. We have the axis in the right place. Great. Now, instead of using a cloner to just clone it on the spline like so, we're going to use an effector. It produces slightly less problems, and it gives you some more power, which we'll discuss later on. So let's put this into it. Let's put the subdivision surface, which is the leaf, into a cloner. So Alt click on this. We got the cloner. And let's switch it to linear. And then make it, I don't know, doesn't really matter, we'll go 12 leaves. Now, before we actually keep working, let's see, this cloner here, this is our flower cloner. Flowers, and this is our cloner leaves. This stuff is important to be organized or you'll start confusing stuff. And let's put our flower cloner and our plane and step, let's put them all into one group and call this flower system. And this is our stem. And this is going to be our cloner leaves. So we're going to use a spline effector, which basically, once you already have clones, you can get them to appear on a spline. So now we will get our same spline and put them on. And now you'll have the leaves on it. Now you see again, the problem is that they're misoriented. So you might want to rotate your leaves, the subdivision surfaces, not that way. Oops. Axis, and then rotate them. There you go. 90 degrees. And they are all the way along. Perfect. And this spline effector has this same, let's go, no, it's not called effector, but has the same settings. It has, you can pick the start or the end, so you can have just the bottom. You can also apply a step effector. You can try applying the same one, but then you'll have one step effector controlling both of them. That's fields, sorry. Spline effector. Sorry, where is that? Cloner leaves. Yes, we can try applying this guy to it. And it gives the same, but it doesn't really give you, let's make a new one to control it. Let's do a separate one. So steps, step effector. And I think it gets bigger right now, which is actually not a bad idea because maybe we want the leaves at the bottom bigger and the top smaller. So let's actually make this scale go down, because the bottom ones had longer to grow. And then again, tick rotation and, oops, wrong one. And there you go, and then rotate them around until you have them on your leaf. See, perfect. And if you want to increase the amount, you just go to cloner leaves and just increase the amount of them. There you go. Pretty easy. And you can also add a random effector to it or whatever else you need, and you basically have your little flower. And now for some bonus material. Let's make a plane effector. Let's not apply it to anything yet. And let's make its parameter to scale and uniform scale and -1. Now, if we go to our flower system and get our cloner flowers and go to effectors and apply this, let's go plane scale -1. Let's go cloner flower and apply this. The flowers disappear, and we can control the strength of this, right? Now let's get fields and let's go linear field, and Let's rotate this linear field so that it's pointing up like this. And now when we animate it, we can go boop, 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 and we can have flowers animating. Neat, right? You'd think this is great. And we do the same thing for the leaves. But see, the problem is, if our spline is different, let's get our spline here and go in point mode. And let's, oops, turn off axis. Let's move it here and then get it there, and then we are maybe point. I just control drag and hit the spline. So let's say it's like this, and we want the flowers to grow as they grow along the spline, right? Now we have this linear field, and see how they're just growing up from the bottom, not really in order. Whereas with the leaves, if we, for example, right now get our leaves and clone our leaves, and we add the effector -1, you will see that, oops, where is it? Our linear field. You can see that we also grow the leaves, and you'll see they're growing all at once here. But what we can actually do is, instead of doing, let's make it a bit more obvious. Let's turn off our flowers for a second. And I'll clone our leaves. Where's our leaf spline effector? Leaves. Let's make it all the way around. And let's give them a bunch more leaves. Now see, what we want is we want the leaves to grow along the spine, right? So instead what we're going to do is we're going to use this plane, this linear field. We want it to affect, like if we turn off the spline effector, you'll see we have this line of leaves. Although I'm not sure what's, it's because there's the step effector going on. So we want this line of leaves affected with the linear field. So what we want is we want to go to our clonal leaves, and we want to go effector, and we want to make this plane scale. We want to put it up to the top so it happens first. So now if we have this effector moving up, you can see the leaves growing, right? And if we turn on the spline effector now, and we move this linear field, see how they grow all along the spline, like in order? Because it's affecting them while they're lined up. It's not affecting them on the spline. It's looking at where they are. Here it's growing them, and then it's adding the spline effector to grow them along the spline. And that's why the spline effector is better when you want to grow things, because you don't have this option with the way we made the flowers when they're just along the spline. That's some bonus material for you there. And remember, if you need any more characters, we have a bunch of stuff on ace5studios.com. All these characters are animation ready, rigged, have materials, are fully customizable, and you can use them in your own commercial projects. We also have more stuff here, like some free rigs you can try out. We have character building kits. We have packs of simpler characters for infographics and infomercials and whatever it is you're making as kids. There's also some animals there, so go check it out. You won't be sorry.